Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand, attorney Jen Riza and her team will help you understand the latest developments, scope out risks, and find a compliant path forward in this rapidly changing field. Visit northstarlaw.com and let North Star Law Group guide you through the legal landscape with confidence. Good evening. Welcome to the Drug Abuse Resistance Education News Network. We're here today to talk about the harms of cannabis. No, April Fool's, guys. This is welcome back. Another episode of Northern Lights. Happy to have you all here. Happy April 1st. It is April 2024. An exciting time of year, and had to throw a quick April Fool's joke in there. Gotcha. Well, welcome everyone. Episode 27. Happy to have you all back. Another episode of Northern Lights. We got a lot of news to talk about today, so happy to have you here. Tanner here with Minnesota Cannabis College, joined by Marcus. Welcome, Marcus.
Thank you, Tanner.
Yeah.
Always good to be here.
Yeah, super happy to be back. Got a lot of news that we're talking about today. But before we do that, I do want to plug a couple quick events we got coming up. One, Canna Connect is less than a week away. Canna Connect is an awesome event. Your time to meet people in the industry, to connect with some of the business side, that consumer side. We're going to be running that home grow lounge. So if you want to maybe walk away with a seed or two, maybe walk away with some knowledge on how to be able to press your own cannabis or grow your own cannabis or whatever be it, it'll be a fun event.
Probably find some nugs, too.
Oh, yeah. This I really love coming to Canna Connect. So if you want to get your tickets today, cannaconnectmn.com. There actually are some free tickets still available. So people can go there, get that registered, and come on down. Should be a fun time.
Act fast while supplies last.
There you go. And then after that, just about a week after, we got another event coming up on the 15th, our next Grow at Home class. This one we're partnering again with Matt Robidoux, with Bovida, Brian Rice over at Bovida. Super excited to be able to bring people out for that. I'm wearing my Bovida shirt in honor of it.
And what's the event?
Such a great question. So this is going to focus a lot on that drying and curing side. So you've grown high quality cannabis. How do you land that plane successfully, have a high quality product you can share with others and keep for a long time?
Yeah, that's like the make or break, as I understand it. I'm new at cultivation, but that's the make or break stage, because you could do a great job in the veg and the flowering, but if you fuck up the curing process, then you've got some shit nobody wants to smoke. Oh, yeah.
So it's an important one. And what I love about this event is we already did one sort of similar to this a couple months back. This one is going to be focusing a lot more on that commercial side. So if you're someone who, you're a home grower, but maybe you're thinking about, man, I'm doing this for one plant. What is it going to be like when I have 500 plants?
Right.
How do you make that transition? This class will be helping with a ton of information around that.
That's good.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this one. I love our classes with Bovida, so come on down for that. mncannabiscollege.org/drying. You can go and get your ticket for that. Should be a fun class.
And Bovida is like an international Minnesota company, right?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. They're based out of Minnetonka, but if you're in the cannabis industry in Spain or the cannabis industry in California, you probably know what Bovida is. You probably have that interacting with your product, and they're based just 20 minutes from where we are right now.
Yeah, I just put some of the humidification packets in a couple of jars before I came over here.
Yeah,
shout out to Bovida.
They're good. And if you want to catch an interview with some of the sales behind Bovida, that was our last podcast. You can go check that out, hear a little bit more about the story of some of the cool people that work there.
Nice.
All right, let's get to the news. So we're going to focus first on a story here involving our very own former governor, Jesse Ventura. Now, this is
Governor Ventura.
The body, Governor Ventura. Now, this is something that you and I have known about for a little bit here. So we're excited to be able to now publicly talk about Ventura Farms. Jesse Ventura Farms, created by our friends over at Retro Bakery.
Yes.
So it's sort of a funny story. We want to tell the story behind this first, and then we'll get to the big news. So Governor Ventura came to a Canna Connect event, and at that event said, I want to be the first governor in Minnesota with my name on a cannabis product. That news sort of went out into the industry. I heard that and I went, wow, that's really neat. And then I went over to the Uniflora office and said, hey, Joey, were you at Canna Connect? He goes, I was, but I wasn't there when Ventura was talking. Like, what did he say? He said, well, he wants to have his name on an edible company. Fast forward just a few months, here we are, Jesse Ventura Farms.
Nice.
So what is Jesse Ventura Farms? In essence, it is a new line of cannabis products, legally compliant under the hemp rules here in Minnesota, so that's low potency edibles. But it's going to be available throughout the state with Jesse Ventura's name on it, making him officially the first governor or former governor with his name on a cannabis product.
Good for him. He's probably elated to see this day. Because I think he advocated for legalization when he was the governor. How long ago was that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So early 2000s, we had Governor Jesse Ventura. He was someone who was pushing back against on the federal side, saying, hey, maybe we should be having some more action on legalization. Not a ton happened, but hey, it was a much harder time in terms of pushing for that action. Right. Cool to now see him decades later being able to say, hey, I said it should be legal then, and I think you should buy these products now.
Yeah, it was hard to find Democrats that supported it back then. I mean, until 2017, we didn't have any publicly vocal legislators in Minnesota supporting
100%. Yeah, we didn't see a ton of action, but it's true that Ventura's administration was one of the most favorable towards cannabis that we had up until perhaps our current governor right now.
Yeah.
Interesting one. So if people want to try these products, you'll be able to pre-order them starting April 1st. So the day that this episode comes out. Otherwise, you can come down to a 420 event. At the Hook and Ladder, you'll be able to meet Ventura if you want. You'll be able to try some of these products. We're going to actually be sampling one of these products a little bit later in the show. Really excited about that one.
Wait, what's happening at the Hook and Ladder?
Yeah, so at the Hook and Ladder, Jesse Ventura is going to be in the house. There's going to be music. There's going to be entertainment. There's going to be activities people can do. And there's going to be, let's be honest, a ton of cannabis products. So it'll be a fun time for people that come down. It's called the Big Zen 20. We'll put a link to that in our chat here. Should be a fun time. We're hoping to stop by, check in, maybe wave hello to the governor and congratulate him on being the first governor in the entire country with his name on a cannabis product.
Yeah, let's go. And they have a massive area where people can smoke.
Yeah, we've been to a couple events there that were cannabis focused. Really a cool place. So recommend people come on down for that one. We're actually going to put a short video clip in here that Governor Jesse Ventura filmed, telling a little bit more about his brand and sharing his excitement for starting this new company. So let's check that out.
I want to welcome everybody. Hi, I'm Governor Jesse Ventura, or also known as Jesse the Body Ventura. And I want to welcome everybody to Ventura Farms. Ventura Farms is my foray into the world of cannabis. I'm a huge supporter of the cannabis industry. Cannabis saved my family's life. And now it's time for me to return to the cannabis world, and you can join me, Jesse Ventura, and Ventura Farms anytime you want. We're in the game.
I wonder if he dabs.
I hope he does. And if not, we're going to reach out to him. We're going to get him on the show. We're going to dab up Governor Ventura. So if you're listening to this, Governor Ventura, we want to have you on the show. We've got some concentrates. We will share them with you. Not a promotional gift, just as a friend.
Yeah, Puffco Pro.
There we go. All right, well, that wasn't the only news that happened this week. We also had, for the first time, that Cannabis Advisory Council actually meeting. They said it was going to happen by the end of the first quarter, and March 29th, just barely getting it in. But
just in the nick of time.
Yeah. So just as a reminder, this is that industry advisory board, has 50 plus members helping to advise the administration, helping to advise the Office of Cannabis Management on really how they should be rolling out and running this program.
Did you tune in? Did you hear what they said?
I did, yeah. So there was a couple different things. First off, we had that election of a vice chair. Now, the chair is the director of the office. So in this case, Charlene Briner. Yeah. But the vice chair gets to be chosen by the members. And we had Angela Dawson be nominated, her name be put in the ring. Another member be nominated, them turn it down. And sort of by unanimous consent, we had Angela be elected as vice chair.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Shout
definitely.
out to Angela.
Yeah, well, and super exciting to see someone from the industry with an emphasis on how do we make this more accessible, helping to run what's supposed to be one of the advising agencies for the OCM.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how influential that advisory council is. I mean, the good thing is if they come with a lot of bad ideas, the OCM doesn't have to take them as instructions or orders, just advice.
Absolutely.
But hopefully and I assume they'll have a lot of good advice because they do have people from the industry, you know what I mean, like Angela Dawson, Stephanie Egan.
And
who've all been on our show.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, and I hope we see more activation, if you will, of these people. We spoke to a couple advisory members just strictly on backgrounds, not going to share names, but they all sort of shared the same thought of this meeting sort of felt like an afterthought. We've got a lot of expertise in this advisory council, and they got emails saying, hey, congratulations, you're on the council. We're really excited to have you. And then not a ton else. And then suddenly got an email saying, hey, we're going to have a meeting. Come on down. And the meeting was basically Charlene Briner sharing information about what the office is doing, answering questions, and that was sort of it. We didn't really see a ton of input being given by advisory members being taken under consideration. Obviously, it's just the first meeting. So we're not trying to say, Charlene Briner, fix this. But I think we do hope to see more engagement of some people that really do have a lot of experience, that were chosen for that reason. We hope to see more of their voice heard in how this bill that's currently at the legislature gets rolled out, but also just how our program gets rolled out generally.
Yeah, I mean, there's members on that advisory council that know way more about cannabis and the industry and the legacy market and about equity than probably almost everybody in that office. I mean, I know they're not at capacity yet. They got 9 people and they're going to hire up to 150. So I know they're doing a lot of work to stand up the OCM.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting being able to hear, in total honesty, a very similar presentation from Charlene Briner to the House, to the Senate, and now here to the Cannabis Advisory Council. And hearing that some of the questions on why the office was pursuing for specific legislative changes or why the bill was implementing, a question that keeps coming up is such a strong lottery system. A lot of great questions around it. So I'm excited to see how the office takes it under consideration.
I just had a call a couple of days ago with a member of the OCM staff, and we were talking about the lottery and other equity stuff. So, I mean, they are responsive and they are trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they're doing the best they can, but they really are dependent on stakeholders to inform them, what they need to think about, what's in their blind spot, who they need to tap in with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, absolutely agree.
And from what I heard is that the community has been standing up and showing up and, helping them figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, could not agree more. I had the opportunity, shout out to NPR News, to go and speak with Kathy Werzer a little bit earlier this week.
There's a grassroots nonprofit that's keeping a close eye to help keep the community informed about the implementation of all aspects of the legalization process. It's called the Minnesota Cannabis College. Joining us right now is the founder, Tanner Barris. Tanner, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Big shots.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy hearing this voice and being like, wow, I get to talk back. Normally I just listen in the car, but now we're talking. And insane. But one of the questions I was asked was really, what should we be looking for in that next director? Really, what do we hope to see? And really, I think the biggest thing, what I said there, and I'll say here, is just listening to the industry, trying to take input from so many different types of stakeholders and figure out how do you balance the interest of people that frankly just disagree on how this should be rolled out. I agree with you that the state with their capacity right now really doing a great job of trying to figure it out as we go. I hope that input that they've gotten continues to be taken under consideration and really put into effect.
Yeah, it's a steep learning curve for them, I understand. But, they need to rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did a great job on that interview, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's like every major news agency in Minnesota has covered us, and you've done a phenomenal job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was reflecting upon the interview, going back and looking over the transcript, and realized that when they asked us about our podcast, went, yes, we do have a podcast, and proceeded to talk about it, and then never said the name of it. So thank you guys for listening to our podcast. Just in case you don't know, this is Northern Lights. That's what this is called, Northern Lights Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, everywhere podcasts are found. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the legislative action that happened this week, because we did see some pretty big movement in terms of not just bills being introduced, but now being bills moving through the different bills moving through the different committee process. Not yet conference committee. That's going to be a little bit later. Yeah. No, instead,
into May.
Yeah, exactly. Instead, we saw that Commerce Committee really take up what's being called that Cannomnibus Bill. I hate that name, but doesn't matter. House File 4757 was introduced as just that OCM bill. It's now been expanded and adopted to include a lot of the other measures that we saw brought up earlier in the session. So let's just run through some of the things that this bill actually includes, and then we can talk about sort of what those next steps are. So first off, that medical cannabis endorsement reform. So getting rid of what's called like a medical dispensary or a medical grow and just saying cannabis is cannabis. Whether you're selling it to a med patient, then it's medical cannabis. To an adult, then it's adult use cannabis. But it's all the same, and it can be sold at any business with this endorsement. That did make it through. We'll be seeing that brought to other committees. Qualifying conditions not just being the list that the commissioner has, but being anything that a healthcare practitioner would approve, I think a really exciting change to see. So if you have a doctor that says, Marcus, in your life, some ailment or condition would be improved by cannabis, they can recommend you, and you don't have to have one of those 13, 14, whatever the number is right now of approved conditions.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully people don't have an anti-cannabis doctor, but I guess you can always go schedule an appointment with another one.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've never had a medical professional talk disparagingly about cannabis because I've been open with it for like a decade.
Yeah, I think you and I have had similar experiences in that, and maybe have not had healthcare practitioners that directly would recommend cannabis themselves, but it's been a quite long time since I have a doctor say, yeah, you really shouldn't be doing that.
You're smoking the devil's lettuce, Tanner?
And we should say none of these claims are approved by the FDA, and we're not, whatever the statement is.
Yeah, we offer no medical early.
Yeah, exactly. Some other things that we saw brought through. If you listen to that interview with Bob Galligan, he talked about allowing for on-tap consumption. So not just selling you a can of THC, but being able to say, I'm going to get you a cup of a THC product, now being allowed. It was going to be allowed in those permanent rules. Now in this temporary in-between time, we're allowing it as well. So really excited to see that continue to expand. 280E, so being able to write things off on your taxes that are not federally approved, has now been expanded to all cannabis businesses, not just that medical side.
That's good. But that only applies to state level taxes, right?
Exactly.
Not the federal taxes.
Federally, you're still trying to think of a...
Pinched.
Exactly. Federally, you're still not in a great situation. At least on the state side, they try to offset it a bit. Still not great. We did see some change in those minor cannabinoids. So prior, it was going to be a pretty limited cap on the amount of cannabinoids you could have. Now we're seeing 25 milligrams of CBD, CBG, CBN, or CBC. Before, on CBN, we had 0.5 milligrams. So at least we're seeing more acceptance that these do have a role in people's lives. And under adult use legalization, we should be able to explore that.
I'm just like, where do these arbitrary limits come from? Because, I've heard from Dr. Dabbs that if you're going to have like an efficacious dose of CBD, you might need like 300, 400 milligrams. So like taking 25 milligrams it's almost like placebo.
Yeah. No, it's definitely disappointing to see those caps continue to be built into there. It's important, not important. It's good to note at least that those caps only apply to the low potency side.
Okay.
So we could see products sold through a dispensary, so a licensed like adult use micro business, mezzo business, have higher caps than that. But in terms of like selling at a liquor store, Dabbler Depot, places like that, that would be capped to this. But no, I agree with you, especially with like CBD. I feel like we're at a point now where it's like we're not worried about people overdosing on CBD.
I know.
Sort of disappointing to see there continue to be such restrictive caps.
Not even psychoactive.
No, exactly. We did see a version of the caregiver's endorsement make its way into this bill. So if you listen back to that interview with Kayla Fearing and Adam Wagner, they talked a little bit more about what that home grower's caregiver endorsement would look like. And while it would have previously allowed you to give up to 16 plants per patient to a caregiver that could have up to 6 caregiving patients that they're caregiving for, we saw a much more restricted version allowed here. So in essence, what this would allow you to do is if you're a medical patient, you could pick a single caregiver and they would be able to grow 8 plants for you. Now, they are only allowed to grow for one patient. Caregivers are not able to have 6, 7 patients they're caring for. This is like, hey, I'm caring for you and I'm going to grow plants for you. What also we see is that this removes the patient's right to grow cannabis at home. So they're not just saying, hey, you can grow for me and now I have my home grow and yours. It's I'm assigning my home grow rights to you and I'm not going to grow at home. So a much more restricted version of what we previously saw introduced.
What's the rationale?
The rationale is that they didn't want people being able to sell cannabis without a license, even if it's medical and only to a couple people. In essence, they just thought it was too much, but it's sort of disappointing that, you have 15 plants, 16 plants for patients. Maybe you have 2 or 3 patients. We're not talking a huge amount of plants. Like, this is a pretty small grow, being able to grow for just a couple people. Really, really restrictive.
I think that's disappointing because there's not going to be that many people who are going to be able to cultivate high quality cannabis. Mm-hmm. Like, of all these people growing it at home, how many of them are like producing fire?
Yeah.
It's a small percentage. So it's like, if you have a caregiver that's like not very skilled, I mean, what's the point?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it's extreme.
Can you grow me some huff?
Well, exactly. Well, and it's crazy to think that, like, all right, so you have the caregivers, they're growing for a patient that they know. So they have 8 additional, like, it really doesn't allow for people to be able to grow that much cannabis. So even if you do have a friend, maybe they do grow super fire stuff, they're not growing for anyone but you. And the amount that they can grow for you, pretty restrictive. So
does this mean that the bill that Kayla was talking about is dead?
So this is sort of the version of it that lives on. Mm-hmm. I think we can continue to fight and say this needs to be expanded more, but at least in the version that was adopted in this Cannomnibus Bill, pretty restrictive.
Is this the first stop in the House Commerce Committee?
It is, yeah. So next it's going to another committee. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
But this is stop number 1 for this bill.
And that's in Representative Stevenson. He chairs that committee, and
exactly.
He's the author of this bill.
Exactly.
On the House side. Yeah.
Yep. Some other things that we saw is that OCM is allowed to determine additional non-intoxicating cannabinoids. So let's say a couple of years from now, you see someone say, I want CB whatever to be able to be approved in these low-potency edibles. Doesn't require a law change. The office can just administratively do that.
That's good.
We saw some changes in that social equity licenses. Instead of needing to be social equity owners for the entirety of the business forever, it now is just required to be a 3-year process. So it needs to be at least held under that social equity owner for 3 years before it can be sold to some other business.
That's good. That's what I was talking to them, like, how are you going to prevent social equity applicants from growing a business and not being able to sell it?
Yeah, 100%.
And they agreed with that.
Yeah. We also saw some early licensure, or what was previously called early licensure, be replaced with a new term, license pre-approval. So they're not saying you have a license, you're not getting it before anyone else, you just have your license pre-approved, that when they start rolling that out, you can be promised to have one.
Yeah, I'm sure that clarification was helpful because some people were like, they were frustrated by the fact that they thought other people were going to get a head start.
Exactly. Very much clarifying. It's not saying they can start business before you, just saying this person is a social equity applicant. We want to ensure that they have a seat at that table.
Right. And I think that's good.
Yeah. The big one that, of course, we're going to mention it, but it's been talked about a lot, is that lottery system did make it through the bill. So we are going to, if this bill passes, see a system where the office is not scoring applicants, but just making sure they meet the minimum qualifications, passing them through that next round where it's then going to be a lottery if you have more applicants than there are available licenses.
But from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, it's a lottery system, but for micro businesses, there's like no cap, there's no limit. Mm-hmm. So as long as you have a good application for a micro license, you're going to get it.
Absolutely. We're starting a new ad campaign called No Cap, No Cap, which is we really want people to know if you want to start a micro business, that's really a great entry point to the industry.
Yeah.
Like how long have you and I been talking about this? We need a route for people to be able to enter. We need this plot for social equity applicants.
No barriers to entry.
Exactly. Now we're finally going to see that come to fruition. And it's exciting to see that even as caps are placed on other businesses, at least in terms of statute, no cap on micro.
No cap.
No cap, no cap. We also saw some other things. Social equity ownership was updated, that it now just has to have a 65% ownership of the business. So we're able to see more capital being able to flow into that. We also saw that the definition of military veterans was updated to include not just those service disabled or those kicked out because of cannabis, but all military veterans.
So including active members?
Exactly. Let me double check on that. I believe it's just veterans. So I think you have to have already gotten that sort of dismissal from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. no longer active.
Exactly. We also saw that previously, if you wanted to transport cannabis between facilities that you owned, so maybe you're a mezzo, you grow over here, you sell over here, you would have actually had to hire someone else with a different cannabis license to move your product. Now, as long as you're moving it within the same ownership of facility, you don't have to hire someone. You can just move it.
Yeah, that was dumb. I mean, it's like all bad ideas were on the table, and a lot of them got included because the bill was just so big, and they had like 4 months to get it done.
Absolutely. Yeah, you still have to abide by the rules. You still have to make sure that you're following the same checklist, but you're not having to pay someone to drive from one facility to another.
Exactly. That's the type of stuff that bleeds the businesses, and they can't even survive.
Mm-hmm. We also saw some changes in terms of the emerging farmer definition was amended so that if you're on a limited lease, so like 3 years or less, you're leasing from a non-family member, maybe you're selling your product directly to consumers, you qualify under that emerging farmer. So if you're someone, you're on a plot of land, you're just sort of getting started, you can at least have a little bit more of a head start into getting into that industry.
So that sounds like a way to include people potentially as a social equity applicant who don't fit any of the other like criteria, right?
Exactly. It's sort of saying that this carve out of small business. You're a farmer, you're selling your product at farmers markets or maybe, CSAs, whatever business model. It's directly to consumers, and that makes you a small business, someone that we want to have part of the industry in terms of the OCM. I
think I'm an emerging farmer.
There we go. Hey. Well, let's talk more about that offline, especially the stuff that you grow. Some more stuff that we got coming out of this. We got that minor advertising reform. So you can't advertise with candy. You can't advertise with things that appeal to kids. You can't advertise with alcohol. Minor changes like that. And then the final one is that we did see expert be added in clinical pharmacy to that advisory council. So they might have only had one meeting so far, but they're perhaps getting another member.
I wonder if they filled those vacant positions that were like looking for people with equity knowledge and experience, because those were like some of the most valuable roles and they were vacant. Yeah. I mean, Angela, is equity minded, so that's good to have her in that vice chair position.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Well, let's follow up on that. Tune into the next episode of Northern Lights. We'll give you an update on the advisory council, tell you a little bit more about who makes up some of those roles. All right, well, so this bill we saw get referred to state and local government. No meeting yet scheduled for that. The Senate side, we saw it get referred to agriculture. No meeting yet for that one. So we don't have a ton of information on what those next steps are, but at least we did see that bill clear committee. We see action being moved forward. Likely we'll see something happen this session, but more to come.
I think Senator Eric Putnam chairs that agriculture committee in the Senate, and he was one of the co-authors of the bill that passed and became full legalization. So
there we go.
I'm sure it'll pass out of that committee.
Yeah, hopefully we have some support on that committee side. Definitely going to be needed.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be trying a yet unreleased cannabis product here with Jesse Ventura Farms. And then when we get back in just a little bit, we got a 1-2 interview punch this episode. Really excited to be talking a little bit more with Brock Friesen of You Betcha Cannabis. And then also with Lauren Bertrand of Warehouse Beverage Co., hearing a little bit more about each of their businesses, each of their entry points to the market, and a little bit more about what we can expect coming up at Canna Connect. So really excited to jump into those interviews.
2-piece and a biscuit.
Yeah. Well, we'll be right back with some chocolate.
All right.
And we're back. I'm really excited in this next segment. We're going to be able to try a yet unreleased chocolate bar from Jesse Ventura Farms and our friends over at Retro Bakery. So we've known Mason and the crew behind Retro Bakery for a long time. In fact, if you go and listen to episode number 1 of our podcast, came out June of last year. It's been a minute. Our first guest that we had was Mason Alt. Hearing a little bit more about that story behind Retro Bakery. Cool to now see them partner with former Governor Jesse Ventura to release some product.
Yeah, let's go.
So what we've got here today is the Governor's Select White Chocolate Lemon Pound Cake. We're going to be including a picture of that in the video because the one that we have is in yet to be released packaging. It's still to be packaged up, but really excited that we were able to get our hands on this early. So we've got the lemon pound cake. It's at THC, CBG, CBC. This is a good one. You excited to bust this one open?
I'm sitting on the edge of my stool drooling.
Oh, yeah. So we got white chocolate, and we should say this is an unmedicated dose. So we're just going to be trying out the flavor, seeing a little bit more about what this product might taste like when people get it on the shelves. Wow. You went in for the second bite. I think that's a good sign. You didn't just take the one and then be like, ooh, we're done.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
That's pretty good. And it does make me think of lemon pound cake.
Mm-hmm.
So they've done well with the flavor.
Yeah, that is super authentic to that.
Yeah.
You get that lemony, citrusy. You get that cakey flavor.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, they went in with that one.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, wow, this is a really good one. I like this one. So if people want to pre-order this, that pre-orders actually start today, April 1st. You can go to Retro Bakery's website. We'll throw that in the show notes here, and you can pre-order this.
Nice.
But as we mentioned at the beginning, if you wanted to just sample it in person, maybe meet the governor himself, you can come down to that event on 4/20, and we'll put a link to that one as well in the show notes.
He likes being called governor.
Yeah, Governor Ventura. Yeah, not Mr. Ventura. Governor Ventura. Wow. Yeah, Retro Bakery, they know what they're doing. They make pretty good chocolates, and I think another knockout with this one.
I mean, they were winning awards for having the best chocolate, edible products. So it's no surprise.
What another
Hit.
Yeah, a no-brainer for the former governor to think, what company should I go with? Maybe the cup-winning chocolate bar.
Right.
Wow. Well, so like I said, we'll put the link to that in the show notes, but that's a good one. I recommend people try that out.
Yeah. Makes me want some real lemon pound cake now.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it does. Wow. Well, let's take a short break here. When we get back, we got that interview with Brock Friesen of You Betcha.
You betcha.
Oh, it's getting cutthroat now.
Hey guys, what are you up to?
Oh, we're just practicing for the Canna Connect 4 tournament, getting ready.
The Canna Connect 4 tournament? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's the expo. All the brands are going to get together. They're going to compete in Connect 4. We want to show that we're the best in the industry, so we're practicing. And Marcus is getting really good.
Like Northern Lights, like you guys think Canna Connect 4 is like a Connect 4
Connect
tournament?
4!
Oh! Guys, Canna Connect 4 is a conference and expo. It's not a Connect 4 tournament. We're bringing together like 20 to 25 brands to give out like samples and education and knowledge about the Minnesota cannabis industry. It has nothing to do with Connect 4.
But we just haven't heard anything about it.
That's my fault, and I apologize. But we're getting the word out about Canna Connect 4 starting today, and tickets are on sale. In fact, I'm giving away 150 free tickets. Like, you guys got to get your tickets quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess we should stop practicing and go get our tickets.
Let's get the hell out of here and grab our tickets.
All right, let's go.
April 5th through the 7th, Modest Brewing and the Wilderness. Get your tickets online, cannaconnectmn.com. All right, and we're back. Welcome to the Northern Lights podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Eigenman, and I'm here with my friend Tanner Barris.
Howdy, welcome.
Good to see you, Tanner.
Yeah.
We got a special guest today, Brock Friesen.
Welcome.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Been listening to almost all the podcasts. I'd say I'm 90, 80% there now. So, yeah, it's been fun listening to you guys. So, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
That's right. You dove in, right?
Yep.
Last time I talked to you.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Now, if you don't know Brock is from North Star Hemp, Carpe, Diem, CBD, and You Betcha.
Yep.
Brock, what's been the evolution for you? Like, tell us a little bit about yourself and what initially brought you to cannabis.
Yeah, so like a lot of people, dabbled early on in life, here and there. After I graduated college, playing football and wrestling, like beating up my body and realizing I can't keep doing intense exercise like I've been doing, So kind of tailoring it back and finding that recovery is more important. That's going to give me the longevity. That's how Tom Brady is still running a 40 time faster than he has, right? So kind of thinking more of that longevity side of things. I've seen how much CBD has helped with my recovery in general. Going off into like meeting Ben and Neil. So I know that both the owners, Carpe Diem, right, through a mutual friend of mine that I went to college with. They introduced me to them, started listening to like what they had to say, what their story was, how they got started when the Farm Bill passed right in 2019. They farmed over 100,000 plants on 50 acres, right? Took a lot of time to harvest that. Really diving in and like when they kind of told me what they were doing, where they were going with things, love what they had to say. It was really in line with what I wanted. I have a small exercise science background, so human body and recovery and how these things kind of interact with each other. I was like, man, this is up my alley. Looking for a change anyway, so left the job I was at doing high-level sales for a temporary power company. And, Ben and Neil they were a growing company. They needed some help, and I figured I could take some of that, some of those responsibilities off their plate and really kind of help launch them. And, yeah.
What year did you join them?
I joined them probably, right in the beginning of 2021, maybe. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Right at the end of 2020. Right around there.
Okay. So coming out of the pandemic, being in the exercise science or fitness industry, realizing the effects that the pandemic had on that business, you were looking for another option and you found Carpe Diem or North Star in 2021. And it's been, it's almost coming up on 3 years. So for me to think that I've only known you for 2 years, but now realizing it's 3, like it's been a very quick 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. When we first met, I asked you a little bit about sort of like what was your introduction into sales, and you told a story about getting introduced to sales like on the playground. Can you tell me a little bit more about sort of the transition into the cannabis industry? Was sales in cannabis pretty similar to sales in other industries, or sort of what are some of those differences that you notice?
That's a pretty good memory, man. It's pretty good. So like when I was in middle school, I know Marcus always likes to talk about if you lived in Minnesota, right? You're a transplant now.
5 years.
5 years, yeah. Well, so I was born in Minnesota. Before I turned 1, my parents were missionaries when I was younger, so they picked up and moved to Africa, lived there for the majority of my childhood before moving back to Minnesota for a brief year, and then going to Oak Park, which is right outside Chicago. So that's kind of like my middle school, high school years were right outside Chicago. So being in middle school, looking for a little extra income. I had some candy that I got from the corner store that other kids didn't, and so I started selling Now and Laters at school. And then I started to go in different flavors, and then I was taking requests, and it kind of grew from there. That's kind of where some of my sales started organically. Yeah,
that's cool. Illinois is a good fit from Minnesota. So you went to college here as well, is that right?
Yep, came back to Minnesota for college, graduated from St. John's University, small D3 school, but I was able to play football and wrestle, and got a small exercise science degree from there with a business management major. So always liked the business side of things, kind of, how to grow something, how do you scale, how do you solve a problem for people, right? It's kind of what a lot of this is.
That's right.
Wanted to touch on like sales from other aspects into the cannabis industry. It's really all about your customer, right? Getting to know the customer in front of you, getting to know that person you're going to be in a relationship with, getting to know a potential business partner, right? So asking a lot of questions, right? Sales, nobody wants to be sold on anything, right? If you're being sold on something, it's usually because you don't want it. They're trying to force something on you. Where just asking people questions about themselves. What are their goals? How do you want to get there? What are you capable of doing? And then kind of finding out if you can help them in a way or solve that problem. So I would say that's kind of some of the similarities with like a lot of other aspects of sales I've been into, and then getting into the cannabis space, especially like the CBD side of things. What's your end goal, and how can I help get you there? And what kind of avenues can we try to get there? What have you tried in the past? What has worked? What hasn't worked, right? I'm asking a lot more questions usually than answering them at first to kind of get to know people, and then that really kind of lays the platform of, okay, where do we go from here?
And when you got started, what was the product mix like at Carpe Diem? When you first started versus now you're far more evolved into the THC side, but when you were first starting to sell, what products were you selling?
a lot of topicals right away. That's a really easy way to kind of introduce CBD to people, I think, before like a gummy or a capsule or some sort like that, anything else ingestible. People feel a little more comfortable trying something on their skin for the first time instead of ingesting it, not knowing what they're going to feel or what they're not going to feel or what the side effects might be. So kind of really a lot more topicals, introducing it kind of in that health and wellness range.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard you talk about that in the past, and I think it's important to know that, but also I'm interested in hearing your relationship with massage therapists and how you've found that to be a really good way to sell CBD products, topicals especially.
Yeah, so a lot of therapists are already using some kind of topical, right, to get a certain glide to help kind of do that muscle work. We noticed some of them are already using CBD. We had a great product with our muscle cream. Has a nice little glide to it before it absorbs into the skin, so you can kind of use it without anything, or you can add it with your own topical oil or other lotion that you use. Not going to degrade the product at all, so you can still get that good glide to get the muscle work or the nerve work that they're really looking for. And kind of going back, right, again, like a lot of sales for people is educating them on stuff, right? Again, nobody wants to be sold on stuff, right? They want to be educated. You know, if you're selling a car, well, what can the car do? How can it work for me? How does it operate? You want to learn something about something before you buy it, right? You want to learn, how am I going to use this? You want to figure out the ins and outs of it, right? So then you're not being sold. You're making an educated decision. So kind of we've actually started working with some health science universities right here in Minnesota, as well as Illinois and Florida, and hopefully soon Iowa. Really, again, getting in front of the education stuff. What is this? How does it interact with the body? Where does it come from? How do you tell what good products are? How do I read a label? Right? Even just those simple things. Even if you don't use the products, do you know what it is? Do you know how to read a label? Or are you just going to listen to somebody next to you and just take their word for it?
Yeah, I think it comes through the exercise science part of your background. I think you really take a nice approach to CBD science and trying to get people to understand the endocannabinoid system. And you've given presentations on the ECS. Can you share a little bit more about who you've been presenting to and what you've been working on?
Yeah, so we've actually just came back from the NFL Combine for the Chiropractic Association. There, it was one of the first CBD companies able to be a part of it and be a vendor there and educate all the team doctors. I mean, they all have their own practice too outside of being a team doctor. That actually led us to being accepted into the baseball chiropractic society and the hockey one. So really kind of making these big jumps again with that health and wellness aspect. Who wants to recover more than pro athletes, right? That's 90% of their job, right, is to stay healthy so they can keep performing.
And in some leagues, they are not allowed to use those products. Yeah, that's really too bad.
Yeah, like the NFL, they still drug test for THC. They know when it's going to happen. It's just once a year. And then in the off season, there's no drug testing until that specific date again, which I think is like the beginning of the preseason. And then after that, it's more performance enhancing drugs like steroids and things like that.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that athletes use, but unfortunately, THC is not one of them.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how that stigma has changed around athletes in the time that you've sort of been aware of cannabis or been in sales? I think oftentimes we think of, athletes as using cannabis, but maybe not using it compliantly, but having a legal route to be able to know what they're purchasing and how it affects their body. I mean, tell us a little bit more about the time that you've been in the industry and that shift.
Yeah, so kind of seeing that shift. NBA now, they don't drug test. So we've kind of seen it drop. MLB right now, I believe, doesn't drug test either. Hockey, I believe, doesn't drug test either. It's just right now, it's just NFL is drug testing. So they're kind of getting away from it, seeing that players are using it outside, right, with medical marijuana being a thing. They see the benefits of that, so they're allowing those players to be able to have that medicine for them. And kind of people understanding the full spectrum CBD side of things too, right? I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people to get over. Oh, full spectrum has THC in it. Okay, but how am I going to feel? What's it going to do for me? Wait, what are the benefits? What are the side effects? Am I going to fail a drug test? Right? Really educating people on that and then knowing how to use it, right? If they can use it out of season, or hey, maybe in season, use an isolate product to kind of help with certain things that you're looking for.
Yeah. Both you and Ben and Neil have a sports background, and I think it's really cool how you've been able to take a couple of jocks and turn it into a science-based brand.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And yeah, Ben and Neil, I mean, they started this company for personal reasons. Neil was born with club feet, actually. So something that helped him growing up, he was taking Advil almost every day. And he was like, I got to get off this. And CBD was something that really helped him. I mean, he was walking up and down the stairs sideways because it, hurt his feet so bad. Ben, he was working for the NFL, selling big, stadium packages to people. And his wife fell ill with a few autoimmune issues, and so he wanted to come back and do something closer to home, and that's kind of how he got involved in the health and wellness. And you got to do something with a passion, right? Both those guys are passionate. Neil's also a farmer too by trade. He went out to London on a hydroponic strawberry farm, was going to learn how that whole system worked and wanted to bring that back to Minnesota.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, and then they kind of put their superpowers together, both passionate about health and wellness, something that helped them. So they launched this, and that's something, I mean, I hear on the people talking on the podcast a lot too. You got to be passionate about this. Mm-hmm. If you're here for a quick money grab, you want to open a dispensary and make $1 million tomorrow, you're going to be in the wrong space. It's going to be a short race for you. You really got to be passionate about it and find your niche and what and how you want to help. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds a lot like things we've heard and talked about. And, kind of switching gears from sports to beverages, and oftentimes on this podcast we like to talk about sports beverages, but when did you guys launch You Betcha, and can you take us through how that brand came to be? Yeah, so we weren't the first people to come to market with a gummy or a beverage or anything like that. We were kind of kicking around the name, wanted to see what we wanted to do. We really wanted to stay in the health and wellness spot, and we knew everybody was kind of playing in the same sandbox with 5 milligram servings and this and that. So we're like, okay, how can we be a little bit different? We had some people reach out to us like, why don't you make the same thing you're doing, but like the similar blend to your CBD products? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have a daytime and nighttime CBD gummy where we add a few different herbs and adaptogens. We're like, why don't we keep that going? Instead of just a normal 5 milligram gummy, what if we expanded it, brought the herbs and adaptogens, kind of that product with a purpose, right? Daytime, do you want the uplifting? You looking to get stuff done around the house, right? Or you want more of that calming, more of that relaxing? Like kind of, right, what are you looking for, right? What's your end goal? And let's help you get you there. And that was like State Fair 2022. I remember seeing the brand for the first time. And the State Fair 2022 was like, THC products are hot, but we can't even have them here at the State Fair. Yep. We can give out CBD samples. And no, we couldn't sample any products. Okay. CBD or the THC, but we could showcase them. And CBD only. No, we could showcase some of the You Betcha stuff too. Oh, you could. Okay. Yeah. It was the sale of it. There was no sales of it. You could sell t-shirts and hoodies and hats. Yeah. And then we had a big stage to do education. That was super cool though. That's where I met Veronica. Oh yeah, from Minnesota. Sure. Yeah. Yes. She set up a table right next to us. We're like, all right, great. You guys are part of the hemp co-op. Let's get it going. Bringing people in, showing her to, come check her out. Brand new. Come see what she's got going on. Yeah. Slightly different products than us. Look at this. Like, it was great to get to know her through that. And then listening to her on the podcast too, found out that she does cold plunges. Didn't know that. Definitely need to do a Canna Connect cold plunge sometime. Can we break some news? We're throwing an event on May 19th. It's sauna and cold plunge with Misota Essence and You Betcha.
All right. Yep. There we go. I was gonna say
a little fire and ice.
I've been fire and ice. Been saying I was gonna do the jump. Now's the time. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sunday night, May 19th. It's come quick. It's not like a long. It's like an hour. Yeah. Like. Sit in the sauna with like 30 people from the Minnesota cannabis industry and then jump in some ice.
Yeah. All right. That sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Hope that works for you guys.
I remember that state fair because for years cannabis was sort of pushed to like the outside. Like maybe you had the political parties in the state fair itself. Mm-hmm. But that year, even though there weren't sales allowed, it was still cool being able to see like cannabis at the state fair, people talking about it, having booths with like the leaves up and like it's legal-ish.
Yeah, that was a great way to introduce it to people too. I mean, we had little plants on like little standing, cocktail tables. But not only that, people had booths that weren't just CBD oils. It was CBD textiles. People had bricks, wooden planks. You can make a battery out of hemp. Right? Yeah, I learned that pretty quickly there. I was like, wait, hold on, what? Like, this is real?
I'd say that, like, thinking back, like that was maybe the end of the hemp industry and the beginning of cannabis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the big shift because people felt more comfortable with it, I think. And again, like we had people walking up, like taking pictures of those little hemp plants, and I'm like, "Do you want me to hold the phone? I'll take a picture." Oh no, I don't want my picture taken with the plant. I'm like, it's okay. I won't put your face in it if you don't want me to. Like, so people are still really nervous, but I think they felt a little more comfortable because it was at the state fair. Okay,
a lot of good conversations.
Yeah, right. We were really kind of talking about more of the plant and hey, this is a crop we harvest.
Right. Yeah, it was outside. I mean, similar to Legacy Cup 4, it had like a bad rainstorm. Like that August, September time, you get some nasty summer storms. And the stage took a hit a few nights, but like it was a great time for people coming together, volunteering, filling shifts like 7 days. I remember I volunteered both Sundays. But there were folks there that were like, a lot of people put time in, and that project took a lot of work for the Minnesota Hemp Growers Cooperative, which now is the Cannabis Growers Cooperative. But man, do I remember that time? Like it was still like Jim Erickson and John.
No, that was good. That was a great event, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody who helped at the State Fair 2022 and 2023, but also like, I really think that was kind of a dividing time between like, okay, we're going into the cannabis industry. We're not allowed to at the state fair, but everybody is getting excited about THC.
Yep.
We're about a year and a half past that now.
It's crazy to think, come a long way.
Well, yeah. So launching You Betcha, I mean, and then kind of tying it back to sales, I have to compliment you on the outright sales push that you guys made. Once you launched, you were everywhere. And that's because you're a sales-driven organization. You guys really take sales seriously. Tell us a little bit about your self-distribution model and how it works.
Yeah, so we really distribute here in the cities. We do work with a distribution company up north to some farther territories that we can't reach. But we have a good sales team here that can cover a good area. They're able to make a good living, right? That's what we really want to keep, is keeping that good sales force going, because they can also help educate it, right? Nothing against other distributors, but sometimes when you're going to a company that doesn't know or doesn't focus on the cannabis industry or hemp or CBD or anything like that, you kind of get farther and farther away from that education, and which is not always the impossible, but right, just a little bit longer chain of command, right? Kind of playing telephone, making sure they have scripts, making sure they can answer tough questions. What is this going to do? How does it affect me? Where did it come from? How'd you extract it?
Yeah.
So
but you guys
kind of keep it close to home.
You get around. You guys are in a lot of stores. I mean, you guys really do the work.
Oh yeah, being strategic, and again, we've built a good brand with our Carpe Diem and reaching out there, being a good health and wellness, and kind of keeping that same pivot with the THC products, right? Health and wellness first, products with a purpose, right? How are you going to use it? How do you like to use it? What are you looking for? That's really what we wanted to focus on. I think people really resonated with that, like looking at little healthier ingredients, right? Yeah, I might be eating one gummy, but I care what's in that gummy, right? How much sugar is actually in here,
Yeah.
It's a chocolate bar. Is there dairy in here? Can't have any dairy, right? There's certain things like that. So we really want to stay on that health and wellness side pretty strong.
They seized the day, if you will.
Carpe Diem. Any other questions you got, Tanner?
No, I mean, I think like my biggest question is just now that we're coming into like the full adult use part of our industry, we're going to have a lot of people looking at potentially starting a business. Maybe they looked at that hemp industry, thought it wasn't the time for them, but now licensure, that's their go-to. What advice do you have for people as they're potentially considering entering the cannabis industry for the first time here in the state?
Besides listening to this podcast, first and foremost, right?
Appreciate it.
Definitely stay up with the law, what's going on with that. If you're going to get into a business, think about what business you want to be and how you want to reach your customers and what are you passionate about, right? Even if it's a small little niche, you'll be able to fit. There's tons of breweries out here. They're all doing well. There can be tons of cannabis companies out here. We can all have our niche. We can all kind of find our different positioning. That'd be the biggest one, yeah. And build a team.
Right.
You can't do this by yourself. We say it all the time in the office, win together. You got to win together. You got to find good partnerships. Some are going to go good, some aren't. But, right, you learn, you grow, right? This podcast started small, I'm assuming, right? And then now how many of you got 4 mics here, cameras, lights? Like, you got to start somewhere and grow, right? But use that stepping stone, right, and keep growing.
I love that.
Hashtag keep growing is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Brock, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to try some products and talk a little bit more about you and your brand.
Let's do it.
All right, and we're back. So during the second part, I'm really excited. We're going to be sampling some of your products. So Brock, tell us a little bit about what you brought with you today.
So I'll start off with the new gummies we just launched. We have our new daytime You Betcha gummies. So we're adding an exclusive blend of lion's mane, cordyceps with 5 milligrams of THC, 5 milligrams of CBG, and 5 milligrams of CBD. So that real full spectrum feel. Our flavors, we have 2 flavors in a pack, strawberry kiwi and then pineapple habanero. Spice things up a little bit.
Let's open them up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bust that one open. Honestly, both of them sound super interesting to me.
I'm excited to know,
going
like,
with,
I'm excited to like pull one out and then probably have to try the other one too.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
bite half of each.
viewers of this show will know that I'm terrible at these child-safe packaging. They keep children out, but also
Oh, they're
Tanner.
adult, they're
All right,
adult,
here we
they're
go.
adult proof.
Yeah.
They're
All right,
tough.
there we go. Ooh, all right. So the yellow one, I assume, is that pineapple habanero.
Yep.
All right. I think I'm gonna start with that one here.
So one thing we learned recently is that Boveda is exploring gummy packs in hopes of like providing like the ability for these not to get like stuck together or clump. Boveda is like, oh, we can fix that too.
So like lining the package with something. The package would be made out of something that
It's
would,
sort of like
would
the
do that.
silica packets that
Yeah.
go sometimes in there. It would be one that you just slip right in. It would be perfectly made to keep gummies at 69% humidity.
Yeah, like a Boveda gummy pack.
Nice.
I feel like I was just recently editing that one. All right, so here we go. Pineapple habanero.
Juicy right away.
Mm-hmm.
Soft pineapple. Ooh, it's nice though. It reminds me of pineapple.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that after flavor, the little bit of heat that you get. That's good. I
Bump
didn't
that.
get it on the like that first bite. It's super strong with the pineapple, and then that heat sort of settles in. I like that one. That's good.
That's a wonderful gummy. Oh, there it is. I hadn't caught it yet.
Yeah. It's just right at the end, and I think that's super cool.
It's a
I
little
love that.
subtle, yeah.
Yeah.
And just 2.5 grams of sugar. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. I love this. You can find this at Dabbler Depot and many other retailers across Minneapolis
Yeah.
and the state of Minnesota. All right. What's the next flavor? Strawberry kiwi. Cheers.
Another really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did a good job too without being able to taste any of the lion's mane
Yeah,
or
at
cordyceps
all.
too. Wanted to kind of keep it still subtle. So
Okay.
I honestly wouldn't have all
Yeah.
known. That's super duper cool. I love that kiwi flavor. I love sort of like the subtle hint of spice that you get. You get that subtle hint of strawberry. I love that. That's really good.
Check out what I'm doing.
Oh, all right. You got the little
Dual
combo
packs.
pack going.
This is the 4 flavor 2-pack.
Sweet. So that's a daytime blend. I like those. Very, very cool. And then you said you brought the nighttime ones as well?
Yep. So we have a nighttime blend where we're adding hibiscus and reishi mushrooms to it with 5 milligrams of THC, 25 milligrams of CBD, and then just 0.5 milligram of CBN.
There you go.
Using a sweet cherry flavor and then a sour pink lemonade.
All right. Well, 2 more that they both sound super good.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try your technique, though, this time, where you sort of bite them in half and then get the combo flavor.
Kind of like what you do with strawberries back in the day. Like you'd roll them together.
Oh, yeah.
While Tanner opens that packaging or tries,
Attempts.
talk to us a little bit about that nuance about that 0.5 CBN. I don't think a lot of people know what the rules are there. So take us through. I know there's some controversy, but like, when did that go into effect, and how quickly did you guys have to pivot after that?
Yeah, when they were writing the bill, they were limiting some cannabinoids, right? How much CBD you can put in some products. Obviously, the 5 milligrams of THC you can put in products, but also limiting how much CBN or CBC. Right away, kind of like, why are you limiting all these other cannabinoids? Like, let's learn about them first, right? If you make things illegal, you can't do research on them. If things are legal, even within limits, you can at least start to do research in them. You can start testing them.
Absolutely.
And that's a better way to learn more about them, right? Start low and work your way up, and that's probably what they did with the 0.5 milligram of CBN. But we still want to add some of that in there. We think it's very beneficial. So that's kind of we pivoted with that. Hoping things open up, though.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well.
Yeah, I think sort of like with CBG, that CBN really sort of took off as people finding a component or a spot for it in their life. And then we got like kneecapped, where it's like, all right, well, maybe we're finding 5 or 10 milligram being your good dose. Now 0.5 max.
Yep.
That's really too bad. But it could change in the matter of a few months.
Yeah, we think things will open up. I mean, we're hoping so. Hoping the full spectrum field can kind of come back. So
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know what doesn't look too bad is these gummies. Go ahead and give them a try. So I think I'm going to start with the sour cherry.
Sweet cherry.
Sweet cherry. Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Jeez. Wow, these are knockouts. Another good one. I really love that cherry flavor. Definitely has that sweet component to it, not like that super sour that I think is pretty common.
It's almost like I'm pulling the Marciano cherry out of the cocktail and like taking a bite of my Shirley Temple.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
It's smooth. It's
Yeah.
a soft cherry.
Thanks.
Good flavor. I don't eat a lot of gummies, but I enjoy all of You Betchas.
Oh, yeah. All right, and then I think just rounding out the gummies here, we got the sour pink lemonade.
One more for the guppy.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that one's all right. I think this one is my favorite. That is so authentically pink lemonade. Like, you not only get that lemonade components to it, but you can taste that little bit of pinkness to it. That's a really, really good one.
These are tantalizing flavors.
Yeah.
I always love doing the taste testing of the gummies. That's always my favorite part.
Yeah.
right.
That's what we do every Monday night
I
at
was
the
gonna
Abner
say.
Depot.
Now I'm gonna do the signature Steve combo.
Oh,
One of each.
let's go.
Wow. Yeah,
Fun.
that's good. I like these.
So
I like
when
these a
did when did these new gummies launch?
We probably just launched these within the last maybe month and a half now.
lot. Very cool.
Yeah.
So they're a 2024 new variety of
Yep.
gummy. That's great.
Yep. Wanted to keep going with the daytime and nighttime blend too. Kind of that daytime, right, feel, kind of get some focus in there, a little uplifting. And then obviously the more focused on the relaxing side with the nighttime. So really want to kind of stick with those.
Have you found that your consumers really aim towards one or the other? Like, is it more defined when you get feedback? Do some folks really go for the daytime? Some folks really go for the nighttime?
I think overall, everybody wants to get better sleep. Everybody knows if they get better sleep, they're going to feel better. They're going to feel better during the day. I feel like a lot of people use cannabis, CBD, THC, anything like that
To unwind.
to unwind and go to sleep first and foremost. So I would say sleep, but then I think a lot of people, like during the summer, always see an uptick in the day. Like, yeah, I want to wait. The sun doesn't go down till 9 p.m. Let's go. We got time.
Sure.
So
I'm picturing like the July 19th festival this summer in St. Paul. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are playing. I'm like, let's get some daytime
they
gummies going and maybe nighttime a little Alanis Morissette, you know?
I like that. I like that. Very cool. So your gummies are new, but something that isn't new for you guys is your chocolates. Tell us a little bit more about those.
yeah, so something with the chocolates, people are asking us to kind of make some chocolates. We're thinking, well, let's partner with somebody who can make chocolates so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and who can do it with like the health and wellness mindset. We actually got linked up with Mademoiselle Meal through the state fair, believe it or not.
That's right.
Yeah, came up to us, kind of talked to us. We're asking some questions about it. They were like, "Oh, we'd love to kind of get in this space somehow." We're like, "Perfect."
Yeah.
And kind of getting to know them a little bit. She's a chocolatier. Mademoiselle Meal means Mrs. Honey.
Yep. She produces vegan chocolate and she uses honey and Madame Misuel Miel.
Yeah,
And she's out of St. Paul. She had a beautiful spot right on the hill, as you could see the XL Energy Center from there. And she also sells her products at the St. Paul Farmers Market, and that's how I met her.
Yeah.
And she's a total badass.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, shout out to Susan.
Susan.
Yeah.
Yes.
So linking up with her, she uses, you already said it, honey is one of the only sweeteners she uses, honey, and then maple sugar that's sourced from Minnesota. Those are the two sweeteners she uses. So right off the bat, great start. Like you said, vegan chocolate, gluten-free, no dairy. Doesn't use any dairy in her products, and they're some of the best chocolates I've ever had.
They are. Yeah. The
hands
bars.
down.
And actually, your bars and her bars are nearly identical once you get them out of the cannabis-friendly packaging, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we did partner with her. We do have her website and everything at the bottom here. You know, if we're not experts in something, we're going to partner with people who are. right? It's just going to make our brand better. We're not going to try to reinvent the wheel.
Sure.
So we have a coffee crisp chocolate bar with chaga and reishi mushrooms in it.
Okay.
So 5 milligrams per piece, 10 in the whole package here.
You're getting me to eat a lot of gummies and chocolates today, and I'm a big fan of it. This is pretty good.
Right, twisting your arm.
Yeah, exactly. If I have to. Oh, I love the look
Yeah,
of
take
that.
a look at
I
that.
love sort of that subtle pot leaf. You can see right in the chocolate. Oh, you can see the espresso, that coffee in there. Wow. All right. I'm
a little
excited.
bit of crunch too with some of the Rice Krispies in there.
Maple sugar, cocoa, butter, oats, brown rice crisps, coffee, salt, chaga, reishi, and naturally occurring hemp-derived D9 THC.
Yep.
I
The
love
oats are
this
also
chocolate so
sourced from
much more.
Minnesota as well. She sources the oats here too. She gets everything as local as she can. So we love that aspect of it too. So
She's award-winning across the nation.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm even more excited to eat this now. I feel like I was excited at first, but the more you've been talking about it, this is. looking forward to
Man,
this.
I haven't seen Susan in a while, but shout out to Susan. We appreciate you. Cheers.
Thank you.
You taste it right away.
Yeah. Wow. That's good chocolate. Like starting out, just tastes good.
It's so smooth you don't even want to talk. You just want to. You just want your
Yeah.
tongue to talk to the chocolate bar. Like, wow.
Oh, wow. And I got to be honest, I'm generally not a big fan of coffee in my chocolate. I generally sort of like those two. I mean, I like my coffee, I like my chocolate. This is sort of getting me to change my mind a little bit, though. This is really, really good. It's not as too overpowering with that coffee flavor, deliciously rich with that coffee or with the chocolate.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you know, there's all sorts of like goodness in there. You can kind of feel the oats in the mixture of it. You can kind of taste the maple sugar or the honey. Like, it's a lot of goodness in a little bite.
Did we check to see if we got a golden ticket in there?
Let me check.
Tell us a little bit more about these golden tickets.
Wow.
Did you get one?
I got one.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, this is good for 15% off any purchase at Strains of the Earth.
That's pretty cool.
Shout out to Strains of the Earth on that one. Yeah. So we like to have a little golden ticket in there for some of the winners, and they don't just go back to us. We try to partner with some people around here, like local businesses, some of the breweries we work with. Mademoiselle also has one in there for some chocolates.
Amazing.
That's really cool.
I
I
got-
don't think I've seen that at all.
No, this is pretty. What was I going to say? Novel. Like, this is a new idea, and I think even I got a ticket for like a yoga class through Carpe Diem Yoga.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go.
Neil is a yoga teacher, so he works at the facility for Carpe Diem. He's part of the ownership, and then he also has a yoga studio with his wife. So there's health and wellness embedded throughout Carpe Diem,
That's cool.
and You Betcha.
We'll hold on to this. We'll
Sure.
put it right there for now.
Hey, Strains of the Earth, we're coming for you.
Yeah, another one we have here is a cranberry hibiscus chocolate bar. So we're adding, this one's always tough to say, astragalus and rhodiola. Again, same thing with that. Again, the healthy sugar to it, right? No dairy. I think that's a big part too for a lot of people who love chocolate but realize dairy doesn't agree with them or they're allergic to it.
Right.
This is perfect for them.
Yeah.
Let you try opening that one too.
All right, here we go. I'm getting better progressively, so that means by the last one,
We-
I'm gonna be
yeah.
a pro.
Some of the first packaging we got was really tough, but now we're
I got another golden ticket.
Yes!
Let's see this time.
Is it Marigold?
Marigold, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I can immediately recognize the logo. Marigold has got great branding, nice non-alcoholic bottle shop, and THC shop in, they got 2 locations, one in Minneapolis and one in St. Paul.
Wow.
Shop.honeycombmpls.
I'm a winner not just once, not just twice, but after eating it, then a third time.
2 times, 3 times, 30 milligrams at a
Yeah,
time.
there. Wow. All right, so cranberry hibiscus.
I've been waiting to try this for a long time.
All right, well, second to last time.
One more.
let it melt in the mouth a little, cover the palate. Here, pass me the cranberry hibiscus.
Oh, I love that cranberry flavor. That's super duper good. The hibiscus is sort of subtle, adds like tea notes to it. That is good.
It's peaceful.
Yeah.
It's a nice, relaxing edible, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to dive in, you could eat 5 of them.
Yeah.
It's a great dessert.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Right, laid out nicely on a table. You know, taking that presentation to another level. I think this is world-class chocolate, and it's tough because you have to sell it in cannabis-friendly packaging. But really, you've elevated the experience through this edible. It's not a run-of-the-mill chocolate product.
Wow, your note about dessert is so spot on. Like, I think of, this is something that I want to have, like a really hearty meal and then be able to settle in with a nice little piece of chocolate at the end. That's cool.
THC accent.
Exactly. I love sort of the pairing. You might be able to, pair a wine or pair a beer. Now we're pairing our cannabis products with it as well.
Sure thing.
Yeah, and there's a couple of THC infused dinners popping up and stuff, right? This fits right in with that, right? Kind of that, here, little accent dessert, put it on top of a piece of cake or something like that. Or
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The last one I heard was on, I think it was Leap Day. Earl Giles did a 16-seat private dinner, 5 or 7 course meal. I think that's a lot of fun. I mean, if you can infuse it in a way where brands are a part of it, but we're starting to speak to more chefs and understand that there's a lot people can do on their own. It's harder to monetize legally.
Yeah.
But that will be coming, I hope, as legalization comes.
Absolutely. But yeah, especially on that home grow side today, you can infuse everything from tomato sauce to hot dish to, buy our book. We'll teach you how.
Yeah, buy the book. Buy the book.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, this is a good one. All right, so I'm going to have to swing by the Dabbler Depot on the way out and grab like a couple of these products. And I feel like I'm going to be getting 2 gummies, at least 2 chocolate bars. Let's see if I'm going to get a third.
So the third one is probably our most unique flavor. Went on a limb on this one with a lemon ginger chocolate bar.
Oh, I've had the non-medicated, and this is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
So we're adding shashandra, ashwagandha, and holy basil. Ashwagandha paired with this THC and the lemon and ginger, I think goes really well. You get that uplifting, like zest, invigorating kind of lemon ginger, but then you get that melt in your mouth chocolate feel. And then when the effects come in, you just feel great. You just feel relaxed, but like uplifted. It's probably one of my favorites. But again, very unique flavor for people who are not.
Steve, you'll never
What
guess.
happened?
You got another golden ticket. Oh, my gosh. All right, yep, milkweed.
Milkweed. All right, let's shout out to Milkweed. 25% off the entire purchase and a free T-shirt. Milkweed, I'm headed for that free T-shirt. You best believe it.
And that is a generous offer. What is it? 25% off the whole.
Valid.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
3822 East Lake Street. Check out Milkweed.
Cool. I love that. What I've really loved about this podcast is, it's introduced me to a lot of non-cannabis local brands. I've learned a lot about local coffee that's super good. I've learned a lot about local granola. That's been a new thing of mine. And man, we have a lot of good food here, and that's for sure.
I'm going to piggyback off that and say I've been introduced to a lot of people in the cannabis industry that I've heard of or like didn't know much about them, but then listening to their story on the podcast, I'm like, oh, that's how they started. That's where they're from. Let me write that down quick. Okay, I got to send them a DM later. They got their email on there. Let me email them later. Even if we're not doing business at all, just want to get to know them, see what they're up to. Again, kind of how they got started. Love hearing that kind of stuff. So hearing people on the podcast has definitely opened me up to reaching out to more people. So thanks again for that.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. That's sort of why we started the podcast in the first place is we kept having these like group chats of, hey, have you heard about this brand or this product? And eventually got to the point that we're like, well, we should tell people about it. So yeah, appreciate it.
And we've gone from trying products on our own to having people into the studio and actually showing and telling us about the products, which is just a much more intricate experience. Like it's more circular. You can really give us more detail about it. So
yeah, John used to read the back of the packaging, and then we would go, cool, now let's try it. And I mean, I really appreciated you sort of taking us through and telling us a little bit more about these. So, all right, should we try the lemon ginger?
To the lemon ginger we go.
Here we go. Wow.
Man, it tastes like Canna Connect 4.
Wow, that's good. I see what you mean where it's a little bit, and I don't mean this in like the negative Minnesota way, but a little bit more of like a unique flavor.
Honest.
No.
We like
I
that.
think it's really good.
Yeah.
It's one of those that I can't say if I've ever seen a lemon ginger product before. That's really good.
Also to mention there is turmeric in there too. So that's also another,
yeah.
like ginger and turmeric are very strong sense and taste. So again, with that lemon and ginger in there, kind of like trying to overcome it. It's that vibrant feel, but yeah, you got to be ready for it. It's a different kind of, people don't really associate, right, lemon and ginger in their chocolate.
Sure.
Right, so you got to kind of think a little bit different.
Lemon, ginger, and I mean, turmeric as well. I mean, you'd really be throwing people for a loop if they knew that ahead of time, but it's a great flavor. The turmeric's kind of sitting in the back of my mouth, and I like that. I'm honestly, I might be off 35 milligrams, but I mean, think how many herbs and adaptogens I've tried tonight.
Oh, for reals. Wow. You have, I mean, I feel like we have people in the podcast studio sometimes that bring us like one really, really great product, and we love that. I feel like we have sometimes people that come in and say, hey, I've got some really great products, but sample this one. You brought us in a full spread of 5 just knockout products, from the gummies to the chocolates. I'd buy any of these.
And shout out to this one too, right? Brock brought us a 4-pack from 9 Mile Brewing Company. Looks like You Betcha had a hand in producing some of the THC for the product, maybe the CBD as well.
Yeah, we supplied the THC and CBD nano for them.
That's right.
We help them with the recipe if they need it and labeling requirements so they stay compliant.
It's a big one.
Yep. But yeah, John, head brewer over there, did a really good job. I listened to the podcast and I hear you guys like terpenes, and I wanted you guys to try that drink. It's got some really good terpenes in there, really good flavor. So yeah, I got you guys a 4-pack to split. So
we appreciate it. Come into a episode near you.
Thanks, Brock.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, truly, thank you so much for coming in today. For people wanting to try your products, obviously they can come to the Dabbler Depot. But if they're wanting to learn a little bit more about you or follow along, where would you send them online?
Yeah, Instagram's always good. Carpe Diem Health and Wellness, and then You Betcha Canna on Instagram. Give us a follow. Always hit up our websites too. Have any questions, please reach out to us. Love answering questions. Love doing events for people. If people have pop-ups coming up, we always love to try to support where we can. So hit us up. We know April's right around the corner, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of events at the end of April. But yeah, love to be a part of them.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah. Actually, Brock, this episode's coming out really soon, so we'll see you at Canna Connect.
Let's go. Yeah, we'll see you at Canna Connect, getting that started.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey man, where are you?
What do you mean, where are you? I'm here in the studio. We're getting ready for our class with Bovida.
Oh, I thought you said Maple Grovida.
Maple Grovida? No, man. We're doing a class with Bovida. April 15th, Ryan Rice, Matt Robidoux at the Wilderness. You know, we're going to teach you how to dry and cure your cannabis. And if you have an interest in commercial, we'll even teach you that. Marcus, if you can't make it in person, we even have a live stream. mncannabiscollege.org/curing has all the information you need. Tell you a little bit more about the class. Yeah, I can text that to you. All right, talk soon.
And we're back. Welcome to the Northern Lights podcast. I'm here with my host, Marcus Harkis. Marcus, how you doing?
I'm alive and well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. We have a special guest today, Miss Lauren Bertrand. How are you, Lauren?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
With Wink, a.k.a. Drink Wink.
Drink Wink.
Thanks for coming in.
Wink.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thanks.
Marcus,
Happy to be here.
have you seen the Wink product before?
No, I feel like I've been, I'm surprised to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hopefully a joyous surprise.
How long have you been in Minnesota for the Wink product?
So Wink itself launched end of last summer here. So we are produced outside of the state of Minnesota. I can lead with that. So there was a lot of, restrictions in terms of coming into the state, being from out of state, but July of last year, I believe it was, is when that changed. So we were pretty quick on top of introducing Wink brand out here at that time. I joined the team at the tail end of last year. We've seen a majority of our growth really since January of this year when we introduced the 5 milligrams. So hopefully if you haven't seen us yet, you get to see us very soon.
I mean, I'm seeing it now. Seeing is believing.
Hey, and that's my job. So
Drink Wink.
Drink Wink. It is a whole vibe. It's a fun one.
What state, though? You said another state. I have to know. What state?
Another state. We're in a lot of states.
Yeah,
Where's the home state for the brand?
Okay, so
but give us the whole background on Warehouse and everything too.
okay, cool. So yeah, Warehouse Beverage. We'll lead with that. Warehouse Beverage was born out of the curiosity of a few of our founding founders, the three founders. They, in 2018, when the Farm Bill passed, got involved with growing hemp and being a part of that. And they just all have some entrepreneurial spirits. And then another one of our founders has a manufacturing engineering background as well. So he's a very curious person, and they really started diving into seeing that there wasn't a lot of lower dose options out in the market for people who are a little bit more of that. Maybe it's California sober or sober curious or just looking for alternative options to alcohol. And we could really go down the path here, but I'll try to summarize it. But they put their brains together, and in 2020, as they were learning about the regulations and different things that they could do to expand into other markets, obviously manufacturing on site in-state was a huge part of that. They ended up building in a 52-foot trailer an entire canning production line, along with a emulsion technology that allowed them to produce out of the back of this 18-wheeler 30,000 cans a day. So what they were doing, it's incredible. These gentlemen are so smart. Absolutely. And they really think about everything, which has led our team as we've grown to be very well equipped going out into market too. But we'll get into that later. But long story
just to
short,
recap that's a mobile production line.
Yeah.
On a semi-truck back,
52-foot
trailer.
Yeah.
And you're able to produce the emulsion, can the beverage, 30,000 cans in a day. Is that what you're saying?
So what they do is they actually, had undosed cans essentially and transport, and they would go into each state, pull up to, again, you have to be, next to the warehouse, next to the production. They'd pull the truck up, throw the hose inside, so they were within the facility, and would connect up the emulsion and do the actual dosing on site through a little teeny tiny valve in the bottom of the can. So, amazing technology, and that could be an entire hour-long conversation in itself. I'll get him here himself to talk about it.
Rabbit holes.
But yeah, no, none of that on there. I haven't had a chance to go out and see the actual production yet myself, which, as mentioned, is out in Pennsylvania now. We grew out of what was at one point 2 of the Wink wagons, lovingly, that were retired once we opened our co-packing and manufacturing. So Warehouse is WHERE, House Beverage, because for the longest time we didn't have it. Was where's Warehouse pulling up today? So it was all over. We were in Ohio, Missouri, Massachusetts, Jersey. We
on the rec side as well as the hemp side.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So our products are actually born into the dispensary channel. So I think the biggest thing you need to know about Warehouse Beverage, and which is why I think so highly of them as somebody coming from a beverage background, and they really made sure. I mean, their trial and error period was 2020, 2021, 2022, like it was way ahead of, a lot of people as these laws and stuff are changing. We were really in the forefront of that, kind of fighting for proper ways that this can be produced and presented to consumers that, again, is light, it's sociable. It's not a 200 milligram gummy or a candy bar that's going to send you to the moon. There's a place for a low dose, sessionable, light consumption. You can have your hard alcohol all day, but sometimes you just need that light beer.
Keep it light.
that seltzer, keep it light. So,
I wanted to point out, it's almost like a food truck going to a restaurant. You started with the Wink wagons, and now you have a full-on co-packing distribution facility. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's very rare. Like, there aren't a lot of Wink wagons out there, right? But it's common for food trucks to turn into restaurants. It's just interesting that's how they got to where they are now.
Like I said, these gentlemen are were so smart, and they really got the right people involved. And even our team, like, we're still pretty small but mighty. So I think we've touched about, all in all, I mean, we've had markets come and go because regulations is tough, right? So being born into the dispensary market, we got pretty heavily involved there. Now a majority of our business has grown into kind of that mainstream hemp-derived market because, again, back to at its core, warehouse beverage, our main goal is to educate, regulate, and ensure customers are getting reliable, clean, consistent products. And, you know, being involved at the state level and staying up to date with legislation and different laws that are changing. I mean, gosh, we're just in Minnesota, and obviously it's a huge piece of the puzzle with everything that's going on. But, you know, everywhere else, you know, they have solutions before the problem even exists, it feels like. Even times where I've been like, oh, hey, it'd be really great if we had something like this. And like, honestly, I will have something on my doorstep almost immediately. They're very attentive. They're fine-tuned into the details, and they also want to like spread the love too, right? Like nothing in this side of the industry, and by the industry, I mean the adult beverage industry. I can say I've been in the adult beverage industry, right, my entire career, the last 10 years. Cannabis falls under that umbrella now, and it's always varying levels of like competition when it comes to your brands you're selling against or you're selling. There's always, number one piece of advice is, you know, you never burn a bridge and you never bash a brand, because you never know when you turn right around and you're acquired by somebody or you're picking up through your network a new opportunity and you're selling that brand the next day. The cannabis industry is, I mean, everyone feels more than ever like this interconnected web of like, how can I help you, or who can I connect you with, or like, you know, all the things we want to win together. And I think us being one of those, you know, quote unquote national brands in a very craft driven local market, it's hard to kind of say like, hey, we're not like here to step on anyone's toes. Like, we really want to work alongside you, with you, for you, and see as many brands in this category that we see right now succeed. And we want to make sure we're all doing it right, and we're showing the government that we can do it correctly and safely and consistently.
I think a lot of consumers, they wouldn't know that like the hemp-derived products, they're allowed to be sold interstate, whereas adult use cannabis is restricted to within a state. So I'm seeing a question here that says, as a woman in a typically male-dominated industry, how have you found success, and what tips would you give your younger self?
But I also want to give you time to kind of explain your background, the last 10 years, because you and I got connected through LinkedIn, and right away when someone adds me on LinkedIn, if I have enough mutual connections, I'll just look through their experience. And I was able to go line by line and be like, this person really has experience in the beverage industry. Like, I'm curious to hear what she's up to, because I see you have a strong foundation. And I respect that, and we were able to connect right away. So take us through your experience as much as you want to share, and how you've gotten to where you are.
Yeah. Like most people in the industry, I don't think I've ever met one person that said, I went to college to get my degree to sell booze. It never works that way, but I always ask because it's always a fun story. So I started just in college, like I was bartending, kind of shot grilling, whatever, and I had an opportunity to kind of run one of those programs in town, and it had me kind of working alongside the wholesaler. I went to Mizzou, go Tigers, University of Missouri. So I was working with the local supplier there in my small college town, just setting up these promos, and I got to hire my friends, and I got to put on the cool deals, and it was obviously extremely fun for a freshly 21-year-old at the time. And
it's a dream job at 21.
A supplier of what, though? I didn't catch that part.
So I was working in spirits at the time.
Oh, spirits.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'd go to the bar, and we'd do the little shot girls. It was Bacardi. It's not like a secret. So I was part of the Bacardi Bats team.
Okay.
Anyway, so at that time I was still I had shifted from journalism to like business, but then I didn't want to get involved in the math thing. So I was like into communications, and I was like, you know what? I really enjoy this like promotional aspect of it, and obviously working in this industry would be pretty fun. And when I moved back to Minnesota after I graduated, I just wrapped up because that was like a contract job during the school year, right? So I moved back here and started interviewing, and someone said, go apply to like a distributor, like go be a merchandiser. Like that's an easy, fresh out of college start, see if it's something you want to do. If not, like it's a great starting point for any sales role. And started working for a distributor here. And that was like my longest stretch was with the Johnson brothers and Prestige family, and had some great training there. You know, just even I think Gallo, just well-renowned training program in terms of sales and just understanding the industry. Got to learn a lot about wine, and studied that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I remember more that I learned in my WSET and like CSW class when it comes to like geography and like terroir and like different science. I was like, I learned more in the last like 2 years studying for this test than I did in 4 years in college, and here I am. But I joked around and I said, well, I'm going to study wine, and then I've always been very curious. So coming on to, you know, what has led me to find success in the industry, I've always been extremely curious. So when I left Johnson Brothers, I was like, well, beer naturally would be the next step. Like I've done I've done wine, I've done spirits. And, you know, it's all kind of niche-y within the same industry. So I was like, I want to go learn beer. So when I left Prestige, I went to Anheuser-Busch's field sales team. This was right at the inauguration of the seltzer. So early 2020, I joined Anheuser-Busch's field sales team and sold seltzers. I learned all about the beer side of the industry, you know, got to connect with another local wholesaler here. Had great success. Obviously, 2020 was a huge shift in for a lot of us in this industry, and a lot of pivoting, which I think is another. Being curious, pandemic. Right, is my first thing. That's really got me from point A to point B, and pivoting. And we can definitely dive into that a little bit later with some of these questions, but always being ready to pivot. Best thing that, you know, happened to me was, you know, going through a layoff from somewhere that I thought I was going to be for the rest of my career, but it really pushed me to, again, find another, you know, nook that I could dive into. So after I'd done studying the beer, I was kind of like, well, naturally, maybe someday I can learn about cannabis in the same way that I've learned about grapes and that I've learned about hops and that I've learned about the science. Like, how cool. And then literally it was like overnight, after my time with AB, I was with the lab, if you're familiar, and we kind of talked about that. It was awesome public-facing tap room over off University that had a full-blown pilot facility and
great research and
quality
development
lab on site. So what we did there was we would run beverage entrepreneurs, new formulations. We'd help them finalize. We would read the integrity of can liners. We would do all these crazy cool things. So I got to truly dive into the art of developing a product from start to finish, from concept to commercialization. And during my time there, I met a lot of beverage entrepreneurs that had these great ideas and these great concepts and great tasting products. You know, I'd done shelf life testing for them. The best and worst part of the job, let me tell you, is if you ever have to sit through a sensory panel or a shelf life test for the CPG category. But, you know, just the amount I learned. And then I saw these people have a great concept, but they had no plan to go to market. So I found myself in a position again, unfortunately through a layoff, where I was like, dang, I know what I want to do, but it doesn't really exist. So I started consulting and contracting with a lot of these people, you know, brands that I had met at the lab, and just helping them write commercialization, teaching them how to speak distributor language, how to speak to retailers, how to understand that, like, it's a 3-tier system, but, you know, there's ways you got to know in between every little
like a
thing.
franchise player.
So, you know, I mean, yeah, I guess a little bit. I franchised myself out a little bit to say, like, I don't know if I want to get so connected to another thing or another brand, just to kind of, I mean, like I said, the last 4 years was like 4 decades in my brain in terms of like just change and turnover and regulation and trends. I mean, we saw the seltzer category go whoosh and create a whole new category.
Why do people like seltzers?
Do people? Yeah.
I mean,
it created. It is a controversial question because I I love a seltzer in terms of like big thing I love about Wink. Like I love a sparkling water. Mm-hmm. I love a clean, crisp taste. Now seltzers that are alcoholic are either made with a malt base or a sugar base or some other base along with that seltzer. So I think what people don't enjoy or are burnt out in seltzers by is that malt, that residual kind of the sugars. I think people are starting to learn about the variation in flavor profiles and overall feel of artificial, fake sugars, unnatural flavors, all those things. People are figuring it out. And
they crave authenticity.
Yeah, I think so. But there's, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like you said, you can have your water or you can have your soda or you can have your cheap vodka or you can have your expensive vodka. Like when things are made right, when things are done with, thoughtful processes and, good ingredients and, they're doing it right every time, it's not just a throw together. You got to earn that spot as somebody's favorite.
For sure. Yeah, I think it is hard though, as a brand guy myself, like you get attached to these brands and then over time you realize that they might drop you. You might have to go find another brand. And so it's important to have that strong foundation expertise that you're talking about that you learned through your experiences, especially at the lab where that you're birthing brands. Like you're helping them from the beginning to get off the ground. And you're also realizing that some of them are coming to develop a product, but they don't have a strategy to sell the product.
Right.
And so you've probably seen a lot of failure in that space in a short amount of time, but it's great that you're working with a brand now that has had success across states and they bring a unique approach to how they develop new markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I knew the consulting and contracting. I wanted, again, to keep learning more and kind of sharing that too, because I realized more so as I was going through my career that there's not a lot of people that in the amount of time that I have can jump around and sit in each of those seats. They can speak as a wholesaler supply rep or can speak as a brand manager or an area manager or a sales manager. And what I respect and loved about Wink and really what I was looking for in my next step, I wanted something full-time. I wanted consistency. And I love being able to get these brands up and running. And when I was connected with Wink, I was actually through a recruiter, and I still wasn't really willing to dive back into something yet. I had gone through a lot of change in a couple of years in my career, and for the first time kind of felt a little sense of freedom, and I was comfortable with what I was doing. And I wasn't even sure I wanted to step back into the adult beverage space. But by adult beverage, that was categorized as alcohol for me. So one of the biggest shifts for me in my career was I, along with a lot of other people after, the pandemic, really reassessed my relationship with alcohol. And if it truly needed a place in my life or if it was just in my life because that was my life. Because at the end of the day, I kind of did it for a living. But when I came home at night, I wasn't having a glass of wine before bed to wind down. Like that wasn't my go-to because it really was more work than it was pleasure. And I really, during my time, got in seeing a lot of brands working with functional ingredients and different ways that you can remove alcohol. There's this, the saying, you can't have fun without alcohol. Hell yes, you can. Are you kidding? Yeah. There's so many cool things out there. So when this recruiter finally kind of cracked and said, it's adult beverage, but it's not alcohol. I was like, all right, and I heard about it and did my research, and I was convinced, like hearing Angus talk about that story of just, again, he's such a solution-driven problem solver, like solutions before the problem is there kind of guy. I was like, gosh, all the things that I'm asking for, begging for, pleading for brands to do or to get to people or to just, again, go back to basics. Just get them the sell sheets, get them things on time, get them some pretty artwork. Like you can do a lot these days with the basics.
Yeah.
And what I saw, at the time it was right after Wink had gone through like a full redesign. They won some Clio design awards. Like we're really getting a lot of, last year was a big year.
Cleo does like advertising awards.
Yeah, I think so. Design and advertising. The first sellable can of Wink. So the first can of Wink was produced out of that Wink wagon in 2020, the prototype. 2021 was the first can that was like ready to sell. 2022 was the first time this actually hit market. So in that short amount of time, when you talk about the birth of a brand in a category in this industry and the history of how long it took for even a hard seltzer to catch on, and then become something, cannabis has been around for a hot minute and has done a whole lot out there. So I was intrigued. So that wanting to learn more, always being curious side of me that was like, eventually I'll study cannabis too. I was like,
I love
everything happens for a reason, man.
Yeah.
You've got a memoir in the making.
Well,
if you're a writer.
How long is the podcast? Just kidding.
I mean, we can stop and start again.
Oh, yeah. We've got unlimited credits in the podcast arcade. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with cannabis. I know you're talking about studying it and you were a little burnt out on alcohol, but it sounds like you've had a place in your life where you like cannabis, and this has been a good opportunity for you to step into something more authentic.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Mom and Dad.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, I think I've always had a place for cannabis in my life, in my adult life. Like truly, it really wasn't something I really reached for and it truly was a solution for me at the time, in college, dealing with anxiety for the first time. I was states away, and, was introduced to it, and it definitely was always great for my anxiety. I learned about CBD. I was, using that instead of medication that was kind of being pushed on me. I was, went through a couple of funky health things in college that, again, a lot of the medications they were feeding to me was just like not it. And I really learned how, for me, it's always been, I'm a self-proclaimed microstoner.
New term.
I had to say it on air because that was Steven's reaction the first time I said it too. He's like, but like truly for me, anything and everything in moderation is kind of what we live by. And even in the ways that, why I love Wink so much is everyone's like, oh no, we need the 10s, the 15s, the 25s, all the way up to 100. We make one up, not in Wink. There's another brand again. We can go down, but 100 milligrams in a 12-ounce can with a little dosing, like a dosing cup on top, so you can measure.
Yeah, I tried that once in Colorado, and I was leaning on the airport, on the airplane window, and like.
I have heard so many stories of people flying, and they like accidentally overdo it, and then they're like, "Oh, in an airplane, man."
Can I get a
wheelchair?
wheelchair?
There is a safe space and place for me when I want to overindulge in that is at home on my couch. But no, go for a little 5 or a 10, like a little 1 before your flight. Such a better experience than absolute paranoia. Yeah. A door just flew off a plane. Like, come on, that's not running through your mind.
Oh shit!
I saw that too.
Anyway, so for me, it's always been, I'm a very busybodied person, and it's been something that's always just kind of helped me maintain calm and collectiveness. And, you hit 30 and a beer turns into a 3-day hangover. Like, I don't drink often anymore, but when I do, I feel like it's nothing in comparison to my 20s. And I don't want to get out of bed for days. And this is just a dream.
And when you hit 40, the check engine light comes on.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to hear about what Wink's got coming up next. And we're back. Welcome to the Northern Lights podcast. We're here with Lauren Bertrand. Lauren, I've got a question for you. Mm-hmm. What's next for Wink in Minnesota?
Ooh, that's fun. I have been very busy, to say the least. First and foremost, we're doing a lot of samplings right now. I've got an awesome team of brand ambassadors here in the cities. I'm actually going to meet a new one down in Rochester tomorrow. So we're really really getting out there. And so you'll find us all around doing tastings. We're getting involved with Canna Connect.
Yes, I'm so happy about that.
Super excited about that next month. We're introducing a variety pack.
That's huge. People like having that sampler size.
Definitely. So I don't even think we dove into this, but Wink at its core is available in 2 sizes. So we have our little cans. I love our minis. They're 2.5 milligrams.
Okay.
We sell them in 6-packs.
Yes.
So it's truly meant to be sessionable, easy, light. I like to say, even if you want to start with a really high dose and want to kind of stretch it out, maintain it a little bit, these are just awesome little, if you want to be social and have something in your hand and not, be pounding 10 milligram beverages back to back to back to back, this is a beautiful option.
I would take that to a picnic right away.
I know, right? This is my micro stoner can for you, Steve.
Yeah.
And then each of the flavors. So our 3 flavors, we've got mango, juicy mango, black cherry, and lime twist. All natural flavors. No added or artificial sugars, 0 calories,
Winning.
0 sugar. Right?
And high carbonation, but in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, that dives into emulsion and all that it goes through, but your emulsion is keeping things stirring in there, right? It's high carbonation, but it's super, super fine. So if we want to jump back to some wine terms here, it's more of an really tight effervescent
Yes.
bubble. It's not a big carbonated, I'm burping after every sip kind of experience.
So
it's a
gentle
very
burps,
fine,
not violent belches.
effervescent, if you will.
I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, but
Sophisticated.
Marcus is known to take things to another level. So.
I love that. I was going to say, I was really thrown off guard because the couple that I had checked out, I think he was behind here. So I was like, wait, who is this other man?
Oh, yeah.
But it's I love it. I love the change of pace.
Tanner, Marcus, John, and Shayna are all on the board, and they all swap in, swap out.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But anyway,
yes.
So they come in 6-packs, which is a little different than a lot of 4-packs you see out there. So keep that in mind because our price point currently will be a couple bucks higher. But again, you think about it in terms of quality, consistency, in quantity. You're getting 2 extra cans in there.
More cans.
Yeah. So 5 milligrams in our 12-ounce can, 2.5 milligrams. Equal parts THC and CBD. So you get a really nice social light balance.
I had one the other night. I was working late, doing some editing on the computer, and I knew I wanted to go to bed soon, but I still had some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the fridge, popped a 2.5, or I think it was a 5.5, and it was nice. At 11 o'clock at night, it helped me fall asleep a little bit. I started to get tired and went to bed by 11:30.
I convinced my parents and then even my grandmother that this is a better alternative than your a little splash of wine before bed or what it may be.
Right.
If you're doing it for sleeping or calming reasons, hello, that's what we're here for. So waking up refreshed, no hangover, better sleep.
You were
aches
telling
and pains.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't know why I need to convince people anymore. But yeah, so currently they're available in the 3 flavors, the 2 different size packs and 6-packs, but we are introducing the variety pack this spring. It'll be a 12-pack available in both the 2.5 milligram, which is awesome for the boat. Again, if you're going to do it all day, something to maintain. And then your 5 milligrams also, if you want to up the ante a little bit, 12-pack on those 2. Plus we are introducing a new flavor in that variety pack.
A new flavor to make it 4, because you kind of need 4 for a variety pack, right?
Yeah, correct. So it'll be 4 of each flavor, and our new flavor is tangerine, and it is delicious.
Oh, that's Tanner's favorite flavor.
Heard it here
first. Yeah, we'll get you some for sure.
This will be coming out in just right around April, so a couple weeks out from now. But the question I had for you is kind of with your experience that you have coming from the alcohol industry, how have you enjoyed the interactions that you've had within the cannabis industry? But in Minnesota, you're still dealing with liquor stores. You're dealing with stores like Dabbler Depot. Does it feel familiar? And then has it been pretty easy for you to on-ramp with your past experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels, I get to go see old friends. So many of the accounts that I was able to pop into because, really since the pandemic. I was out and about during the pandemic the whole time. And, so call it 60 liquor stores a week during that time. It was crazy. But I think that's a huge lesson that I learned at that time is I wasn't doing much, but I was showing up. And these accounts really respected me for that. I clearly wasn't in there just to grab cases and get a number during that time. It truly was a whole different side of humanity of just what can I do? Can I help you restock? Let me jump behind the cash register for you for a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the relationships that I've had established in this market, some are going on 10 years old back to my days, or 10 years old back to my days selling wine
early
on. So it's so great to reconnect and kind of have that where are they now conversation, because it is such a small world in a big industry, that we run into people all the time. And I think when you can leave a lasting impression that shows that, you're the kind of person that's going to show up for them, not just for me in a selfish way. They know that what I bring to the table, they can trust, and, that I'm going to be there for the products too. So, everyone's been super welcoming. I think they're very excited about the category. Everyone is. They're eager to learn. So I spend a lot of time kind of answering a lot of the questions that maybe they feel silly asking other people, or, just knowing that I'm someone that they can trust and, lean on is been super helpful. And at the end of the day, the only thing that's different about selling beer or wine or spirits than selling cannabis is I get to go into salons and gyms and glass shops and tobacco stores and, these hemp dispensaries that are popping up. So there's still I'm learning something new every day kind of challenge to it as well. So while at the core, it's mostly the same, and, dealing with regulations and state differentiations is one thing, but this is county by county and market by market and, legislation by legislation kind of thing. So
But you're from here.
Yeah.
It's just the industry is new.
The industry is new, but it definitely falls under the same umbrella, which is why, again, breweries jumping in on this, they're doing a great job because it's their language. Nowhere else has a brewery or, somebody been able to play in this space that we've all been watching for so many years and curious about what it's going to do to our industry or our market. And we're coming into a world that Minnesota is setting this mainstream standard that they can commingle, they can interact together. We do have dispensaries coming down the line. And you can find Wink there or you can find Wink here. We've got Countdown, which is 25 milligrams and up that comes in to play. That's a huge dispensary brand for us.
Okay. And where can people find Countdown?
So Countdown's not here yet.
Right.
But we're itching. We're working really hard to get it here as soon as possible. But Countdown's in dispensary channels and mainstream channels. For us, a lot out in the Northeast. Okay. We're in Ohio, Illinois, Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut. That has been such a crazy wildfire, for us lately because they're going through some crazy regulation things. And we were one of the only brands that could get through the survey or what's the word I'm looking for?
You're able to be sold.
They secret shopped, right? And they changed a bunch of regulations and Wink was one of the only brands that was compliant because we follow everything to a T. We make sure we're setting a standard. Mm-hmm. And that allowed us to just kind of go in and take off. Again, just having a brand that has that reliability, that doesn't put liability on the accounts that are carrying it, sure. Right? I can guarantee you what we have is going to pass the test. So if you get somebody walking in your store, just walk them to Wink. Yeah. We're doing it, I promise. But yeah, no, it's been pretty easy to interchange. And that was one of the main reasons, the recruiter had reached out to me was we see your background, we see your training. We need to learn, a lot of this, because being, in cannabis dispensary channel, jumping into mainstream and how liquor and the beverage world works. They pretty strategically hired myself and two others in the other mainstream markets that have liquor backgrounds because, we know we've sold to these people. We know these people. We know the pushbacks.
What advice would you give for aspiring entrepreneurs in the Minnesota cannabis space who want to, bring a brand to market?
Make sure you can pivot if you need to, and just don't give up. Just show up, whether you're showing up for yourself or you're showing up for a client or you're showing up for a customer. If you do the little things right, if you just stick to the basics, you don't need to come running out of the gate with $1 million digital ad running on Meta through X and tied into Instagram. Like so much of that can happen organically just by being authentic. And that's a lot of our digital footprint has all been organic. It's created by us in the market, for our teams. So don't overthink what you think are the big things. Like focus on the little things, get a couple wins, and scale with yourself. I think that's the biggest kind of setback that I've seen a lot of brands do. Like you have great branding, you have great marketing, you have a great formulation, but like they threw their money down the wrong slide and then they ran out. So focusing on the true values of your brand, get it in your friends' hands, get it in their family's hands, get it in their friends' hands. The spiderweb effect is going to get you so much further than an algorithm. I
like that.
It's and I'm not hating on any of the digital and SEO. Obviously, that's gotten us very far too. But when you are brand new, there's so many things you have to do right away. I think is my biggest point. And a lot of people miss that piece and just kind of get lost and can't dig out from that.
It's the shiny stuff that gets people's attention, but you have to do the little things that nobody really notices, but they notice when they're not there.
Right.
Little things mean a lot.
It does, yeah.
Marcus says that.
Stay curious.
Yeah, I like that.
Stay curious. That's what I got to say to them.
If people are curious about Wink and they want to learn more, where can they find them on social?
Yeah, so we are on Instagram primarily, and that's Drink Wink, and it's Wink with a Y, everybody, WYNK. And then we, professionally, LinkedIn, we're pretty big on LinkedIn, just, again, keeping connected, all of our team, and being involved in a lot of the conversations. So if you're curious about it from that side, follow us on LinkedIn. We've got some really good content that goes out. Not only about ourselves, it's a lot more about just what's going on and what's changing and what's available to us all, and really working hard on kind of leading the way and collecting data. I know there's a lot of really great partners even in Minnesota that are really pushing that too, but for us being able to have a bit of a national footprint and start collecting data from some larger retailers,
right?
I think that's going to be huge in the long run. So find us on the fun side on socials and on Insta, and the professional side on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you've got a great website. We're looking forward to seeing you guys at Canna Connect 4.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And we appreciate your support. We're excited to have you on the beverage panel. That's going to be a great discussion. And
yeah. Do we get to use the headphones and the microphones again?
We'll see. Not usually at the Canna Connects, but we're excited to have you at the Wilderness, and we're looking forward to getting to know you guys more as the year goes on.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And that's all we got for today. Thanks so much to Brock. Thanks so much to Lauren for coming in, sharing a little bit more about each of their stories, each of their brands. I mean, it's cool to be able to keep hearing from people in the industry that have such diverse backgrounds, but all come together around cannabis.
Right. Minnesota Cannabis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to be back in your feeds in just another week. We got an interview with Sean Reber of Crested River coming up. Really excited to be sharing a little bit more about his brand and the story behind how he got into the cannabis industry. So that's going to be a good one. Definitely tune in for that one. In the meantime, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. I mean, if you got a social media that we're not on yet, give us a call. We'd love to be on there.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications, share, comment.
Hit that bell, whatever that, get notified when we drop new episodes. They drop every Monday morning, but we also come out with some bonus segments, and we've got some really exciting ones coming out in the next couple of weeks. I don't want to spoil them here, but they're going to be pretty delicious if I do say so myself.
Delicious and nutritious.
Oh, yeah. Well, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to tell a friend. As Marcus said, be sure to leave a comment, and we'll catch you all again in just about a week here. Thanks, everyone. Northern Lights is a Minnesota Cannabis College production. This episode was produced by me, Tanner Barris, and by my co-hosts John Barty and Marcus Harkis. Production assistance from Shayna Payton and Steve Eigenman. Today's episode is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. The information provided in this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice, but is instead for general information purposes only. Information shared may not constitute the most up-to-date or legal information. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking their own legal counsel. The opinions and views expressed on this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly.